Each time you close the hood, check that it is securely latched. Pull it up as if you were trying to tear the front of the car off the ground. My friend and I then spent several days in a beach house, and she had just gotten a student driver sticker on the rear window of the car, a sign that the driver has a learner's permit. She was over the moon and really wanted to drive home. It was one of her first times driving on her own. We were 17, and we didn't see any problem with it. I called my dad and said I would ride with her. He replied, "I don't think that's a good idea. I can pick you up. I'll drop off the other girls too. I think she should drive a little more before taking passengers." Well, I, of course, all so grown up, I'm already 17, said that everything was fine and got into the car. We were driving home, chatting, listening to music. There were 5 17-year-old girls in the car. I was in the passenger seat next to the driver. My friend drove off a country road onto a 2-lane highway, turned at an intersection. We realized she had turned the wrong way and said she needed to turn around. She pulled over to the side of the road and decided to make a U-turn across 2 lanes. But she didn't look in the mirrors, and a huge truck was quickly approaching from behind. My friend got scared and hit the brakes right in the middle of the road across both lanes. We were all screaming for her to keep going, but she froze. I remember everything was like in slow motion. I looked at each of my friends. We seemed to exchange glances. That's it. Those glances still pop into my head. We heard the truck honking loudly. I looked out the window and saw it rushing straight at us. We made eye contact with the truck driver. Fortunately, he managed to stop about 5 meters from us. My friend stepped on the gas again and drove away. The rest of the way home was in complete silence. It was, without exaggeration, the scariest moment of my life. I'm from a very small town. The death of 5 people at once would have shocked everyone. And those faces of my friends at that moment, some kind of wild horror. I even had a thought, well, that's it. It's gonna crash now. But at that moment, for some reason, I felt a strange calmness. After that incident, I truly realized that I am not immortal, and I can die at any second. And I also realized that I need to listen to my father. Edited. I never told my dad about it. I was afraid, and my friends and I never talked about it again. In 2016, I was returning from a party around 2 in the morning. I deliberately decided to drive through the city center instead of taking the bypass. This added about 10 minutes to the trip, but I hadn't been in that area for a long time, and I thought, why not? This decision almost cost me my life. After literally 5 minutes, I was driving along a 3-lane highway. In fact, it was just a regular wide road, which passed by a shopping center. There was a traffic light there, and some drunken idiot decided to turn right towards the shopping center from the left lane, and I was driving in the middle. I didn't have a second to react. He hit me in the side at 100 kilometers per hour. I remember yelling, "Bitch," and trying to hold the steering wheel to get off the road onto the grass. But then I suddenly passed out for a few minutes. The deployed airbag combined with the seatbelt broke my ribs. Because of this, all the air was blown out of my lungs, and that's probably why I lost consciousness. Although, when I woke up, it was more like not waking up. It was as if the vision gradually focused and I realized what was happening again. In those few moments when I seemed to still be conscious, the pain was incredible. The strongest in my entire life. Everything hurt, from the skin on my feet to the skin on my head. Every cell in my body was aching, and I thought, well, that's it. I'm dead now. The body itself is signaling this to me. Finally, coming to my senses, I was overcome with heat. The engine of the car was so hot it was like I was standing in a fire. I was sure the car was about to catch fire. It didn't catch fire. I tried to get out, but the door was jammed due to the impact, and I started to panic. I leaned my back against the passenger seat and started kicking the door with my feet again and again until I opened it and got out. Every cop, medic, and even the tow truck driver looking at my car said the same thing. You shouldn't have survived at all. The fact that you only have a fracture and a few cuts is a real miracle. So yeah, that's the story of how I almost died. I was sure I was dead, but by some miracle, I still survived. I was driving down the highway at 100 kilometers per hour when suddenly the car started to shake. I reflexively hit the brakes and the car spun 180 degrees. I found myself facing oncoming traffic, including a truck. I was so close to it that I couldn't even see the driver's cab. I screamed and jerked the steering wheel. I ended up right in front of a sedan with 2 passengers in it. They also screamed when they saw me appearing out of nowhere in front of them. I kept screaming and slammed the gas pedal to the floor. I managed to pull over to the side of the road where I then just sat and cried for a long time. It turned out that I had a flat rear tire. Hitting the brakes was a very bad idea. And what should you do in such a situation? I would definitely hit the brakes. You need to gently release the gas, turn on the hazard lights so that others understand that something is wrong with the car, and smoothly move to the side of the road. The main thing is not to make sudden movements. When you reduce the speed to about 10 kilometers per hour, then you can brake to a complete stop. Edited. In the comments below, it was correctly noted. It is better for all 4 wheels to be on the same surface, like the whole car ended up on the side of the road before stopping completely. This is a good rule for any situation in which the car starts to behave unpredictably. At that time, I was in my senior year of school. The club I was in organized an unofficial trip to the beach at the end of the year, without teachers and without permission. So I and a few other older students were responsible for organizing and supervising. After a couple of hours of fun, one of the students runs up to me and says that 3 younger guys from the club were swept away by the current, and they can't get back to shore. I and 2 other older guys, all good swimmers, immediately rushed to help them. My friends managed to reach 2 of the guys. They started swimming with them parallel to the shore to get out of the current. And the one I swam to was already starting to drown and almost immediately started pulling me down in panic. I shouted to call the rescuers and tried to stay afloat with him, but after a few minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10, it seemed like an eternity. I was almost exhausted. It was hard for me to stay on the water. Water was splashing into my mouth, my legs started to cramp, and the thought flashed in my head, oh damn, I probably really am going to die now. Fortunately for both of us, someone from the shore called out to 2 surfers. They quickly reached us, pulled out the younger boy first, then me. They put us on boards and returned us to the shore. I will always be grateful to these strangers who risked themselves to pull out 2 drowning unfortunates. Edited. As correctly noted in the comments, people often die doing what I did. They try to save a drowning person without preparation or equipment. There are special rescue techniques that everyone should know in case they find themselves in a similar situation. I should have used them myself, but I was 17, I didn't think with my head at all, and I almost paid for it. It was the moment when I accidentally drank my friend's drink, which had something slipped into it. A little later, I decided to go home by bike. On the way, I fell 5 times and ended up in the bushes by the side of the road. I threw up everything that was inside me. I was so disoriented that I couldn't get up anymore.
I spent the whole night in the bushes and it was only plus 13 outside. There were several moments when I thought I would die. I called the rescue service several times, but they didn't come. I lay in the wet bushes for 8 hours. But in the end, a taxi driver picked me up and took me home. After that, I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. The only thing I was glad about was that my friend didn't drink that drink and got home safely. I have a classic '65 Mustang, and I love to drive it everywhere. Once, my friends and I went to the mountains in it. The roads were not particularly steep or dangerous, but due to the altitude, there was still a certain risk. We climbed to the top without any problems and went to a bar where my friends got really drunk. I didn't drink.